The Galactic Council chamber stood silent as Ambassador Crix reviewed the morning reports. For 3,000 years, the Council had maintained peace across 700 star systems. Every species knew their place. The Varians controlled trade routes, the Zarans managed diplomatic relations, and the mighty Draken Empire held the military supremacy that none dared challenge. Commander Vex of the Draken fleet lounged in his command throne, his scaled fingers tapping against golden armrests. His fleet of 500 warships patrolled the Outer Rim, the largest military force ever assembled. Each ship measured 10 kilometers long, armed with plasma cannons that could crack moons. No civilization had ever matched. Draken technology. Then the sensors detected something unusual near the abandoned Sigma sector. A small probe, primitive by galactic standards, drifted through space, broadcasting simple mathematical sequences. The Council dismissed it as debris from some extinct civilization. They were wrong. 3 days later, space itself seemed to tear open. Not one, not 10, but thousands of rifts appeared simultaneously across Council space. From these tears emerged ships massive, angular vessels of dark metal that absorbed light itself. Each human dreadnought stretched 50 kilometers from bow to stern, dwarfing even the mighty Draken battleships. Admiral James stood on the bridge of humanity's flagship, the Terra's Vengeance. His weathered face showed no emotion as he surveyed the tactical display. Humanity had spent 500 years preparing for this moment. While the galaxy played politics, Earth had been building, learning, adapting. The first contact came from the Council. Ambassador Crix's blue skin paled as he opened communications. Unknown vessels, you have entered Council space without authorization. Identify yourselves immediately or face. This is Admiral James of the United Earth Fleet. The response interrupted, broadcasted on all frequencies. We are humanity. We come in peace, but we are prepared for war. The Draken Commander Vex laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through his bridge. Primitive newcomers dare threaten the Draken Empire? We have conquered 100 species. Your ships may be large, but size means nothing against superior firepower. What Vex didn't know was that humanity had been watching. Every probe destroyed, every signal intercepted, every piece of technology that drifted to Earth's corner of space had been studied, improved, and revolutionized. Human scientists had discovered something the Council races never bothered to: explore the quantum field manipulation at their own ancient texts. Dismissed as theoretical impossibility, the human ships didn't just appear massive. They were massive in ways that defied conventional understanding. Each vessel contained compressed space, bigger inside than outside, carrying armies of fighters, weapons that fired through dimensional barriers, and shields that existed in multiple realities simultaneously. Captain Tom aboard the destroyer Liberty watched his crew work with perfect precision. Unlike the Council races who relied on automated systems, humans still manned their posts. Every gun had a gunner. Every system had redundancy. Every decision had a human mind behind it. The galaxy had forgotten that sometimes the old ways combined with new technology created something unstoppable. The Council called an emergency session. Representatives from 50 major civilizations gathered, their various forms tentacled, crystalline, gaseous all, sharing the same expression of concern. The sensor data was impossible to ignore. In 3 days, humanity had deployed more firepower than the Council had seen in its entire history. But Admiral James hadn't come to conquer. Earth had learned from its own bloody history. The transmission he sent next shocked the Council more than the Armada itself. We offer trade, knowledge, and protection. Earth stands ready to join the galactic community as equals. But know this: we will not be subjects. We will not be controlled. And we will not tolerate aggression against ourselves or any peaceful species. The Zorans, masters of reading biological signs, detected no deception. The humans meant every word. They came with the largest fleet ever assembled, not to destroy, but to ensure they could never be destroyed. As night fell on the council world, though in space, night was merely a concept. Every species faced the same realization. The universe had changed in a matter of days. Humanity had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same. Commander Vex refused to accept the new reality. For 6 generations, his family had led the Draken military forces, and no upstart species would challenge their supremacy without consequences. In the war room of his flagship, Vex gathered his top generals around the holographic display showing the human fleet positions. "They may have numbers," Vex growled, his reptilian eyes narrowing, "but they don't have experience. These humans have never faced real combat in space. We'll show them why the Draken Empire has never lost a war." General Tor, an old warrior with scars crisscrossing his scales, voiced caution. "Commander, their technology seems different. Our scanners can't fully penetrate their hulls. We don't know what weapons they carry." "Fear?" Vex hissed. "From a Draken general? They're probably hollow shells, meant to intimidate through size alone. I've seen this tactic before from primitive species trying to appear stronger than they are." But on the human flagship, Admiral James was studying the Draken fleet with his tactical team. Lieutenant Lisa pulled up the classified files from Earth's intelligence division. "Sir, we've been monitoring their combat patterns for 50 years through long-range sensors. They rely on frontal assaults and overwhelming firepower. No subtlety, no adaptation. And that's why they'll lose if they push this," James replied, his fingers drumming on the command chair. "But I'd prefer to avoid bloodshed. Send a message to Captain Mike on the Prometheus. Have him do a demonstration run. Non-lethal, but impressive." The Prometheus, a smaller human corvette of merely 5 kilometers, began moving toward the Draken fleet's position. Vex saw this as an insult, sending their smallest ship as a challenger. He ordered his Pride, a squadron of 30 battleships, to intercept. "Destroy that insect," Vex commanded. "Show these humans the price of arrogance." The Draken ships opened fire simultaneously. Hundreds of plasma beams lanced through space, each capable of vaporizing asteroids. But the Prometheus didn't move to evade. Instead, space around it seemed to shimmer and bend. The plasma beams hit something, but that something existed in a different dimensional phase. The energy passed through the Prometheus as if it were a ghost. Captain Mike smiled grimly as he gave his order. "Return fire. Disable only. Let's show them what quantum torpedoes can do." From the Prometheus launched a single torpedo, no bigger than a shovel. The Draken commanders laughed at the pathetic response. Then the torpedo split into 2, then 4, then 16, then thousands. But these weren't physical splits. The torpedo existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Each one real, each one targeted. The Draken shields, designed to stop energy and kinetic weapons, had no defense against weapons that existed in probability clouds. The torpedoes passed through shields as if they weren't there, then solidified inside the ship's systems. In seconds, 30 Draken battleships found their weapons offline, their engines dead, their life support on emergency backup. Not a single Draken life was lost. But their pride that was shattered completely. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Avarians, who prided themselves on negotiation, immediately called for diplomatic talks. The Zorans analyzed the combat data with growing excitement. Here was a species that could fight without killing. That showed restraint even when challenged. But it was Elder Malek of the ancient preservers who spoke the words everyone was thinking. They could have destroyed the Draken fleet entirely. They chose not to. This is either mercy ... or a warning. Admiral James opened a channel to the disabled Draken ships. "Commander Vex, we're sending repair drones to restore your systems. No conditions, no demands. We want you functional and capable. Because despite what you think, we're not here to replace you. We're here to stand beside you." Vex sat in his darkened bridge, emergency lights casting shadows across his scaled face. His pride screamed for vengeance, but his warrior's mind recognized something else: respect. These humans had defeated him without killing a single soldier. They'd shown strength without cruelty, power without tyranny. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "the human repair drones are here. They're actually fixing our ships. And sir, they're upgrading some of our systems while they're at it." For the first time in his life, Commander Vex felt something he'd never experienced in victory or defeat: humility. The humans weren't just powerful. They were trying to make everyone else powerful too. What kind of species did that? As his lights came back online and his engines hummed to life, Vex made a decision that would change Draken history. He opened a private channel to Admiral James. "Admiral, I would like to talk." While the galaxy watched the public display of human power, something else was happening in the shadows of space. Deep in the Terra's vengeance, Admiral James stood in a secured chamber with his closest advisors. The real reason for humanity's emergence wasn't just exploration or joining the galactic community. "Show them," James ordered. The hologram that appeared made even the seasoned officers step back. It showed the edge of the galaxy, where space itself looked wrong, twisted, dark, consuming. Data streams showed star systems simply vanishing, not destroyed, but erased from existence. "We call it the void," explained Dr. Anna, Earth's lead physicist. "We detected it 15 years ago. It's not a natural phenomenon. Something is consuming reality itself, and it's accelerating. At current rate, it will reach Council space in less than 10 years. Captain Robert, the fleet's strategic commander, added grimly, "We've sent unmanned probes. None returned, but their last transmissions showed ships, if you can call them ships. They're more like living nightmares made of dark matter and twisted space." This was why humanity had rushed their emergence. Not for conquest, not for glory, but because Earth's scientists had discovered something terrifying. The galaxy was under threat from something beyond their understanding. And the Council races were completely unaware. "We need the Council races," James stated firmly. "Their technology, combined with ours, might give us a chance. But first, we need them to trust us." Meanwhile, on the Council world, Ambassador Crix was dealing with his own crisis. Reports were flooding in from the outer colony's ships disappearing, stations going dark, entire mining operations vanishing without distress calls. The Council had been attributing it to pirates or technical failures, but the pattern was becoming impossible to ignore. Elder Malik of the Preservers requested a private meeting with the human delegation. The Preservers were the oldest race in the Council, their archives stretching back millions of years. In a chamber deep beneath the Council building, Malik showed Captain Susan something that hadn't been seen in eons. "These are the last records," Malik whispered, his crystalline form flickering with age. "From the civilization that came before. They speak of a darkness that consumes, a hunger that cannot be satisfied. They called it the Devourers." Susan's blood ran cold as she recognized the descriptions. It matched exactly what Earth's deep space sensors had detected. "Elder Malek, we need to warn everyone. If these Devourers are returning, who would believe us?" Malik interrupted. "The Council thinks itself invincible. Even your display of power has only made them fearful, not united. But perhaps that was what was needed. A force strong enough to unite them against the real threat." Back on his repaired flagship, Commander Vex was reviewing the upgrades the humans had installed. His technical officer, a young Draken named Rex, was excited beyond measure. "Commander, these modifications, they're incredible. Our shields now operate on multiple frequencies simultaneously. Our sensors can detect things in subspace we never knew existed. And sir, look at this." Rex pulled up new sensor data from the edge of their territory. For the first time, they could see the distortion, the wrongness in space that had been hidden from their instruments before. "By the ancient scales," Vex breathed. "What is that thing?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Admiral James himself, transported aboard the Draken flagship alone, unarmed, a gesture of ultimate trust. In the Draken conference room, he laid out the truth to Vex and his officers. "We call them the Devourers, based on ancient records we found on Mars. They're not from our reality. They exist in a state between existence and void, feeding on matter, energy, even the fundamental forces that hold reality together. Earth has been preparing, but we're not enough. No single species is." Vex studied the data, his warrior's mind already working on tactics. "You didn't come here to conquer. You came here to recruit." "We came here to survive," James corrected. "All of us, together. Your combat experience, the Varian trade networks, the Zaran diplomatic skills, the Preserver's knowledge, we need it all. Earth has the technology to fight them, but technology alone won't be enough." For a long moment, Predator and human stared at each other. Then Vex did something no Draken commander had ever done. He extended his clawed hand in the human gesture of alliance. "Show me everything," Vex said. "If this threat is real, the Draken Empire stands with Earth." As the two commanders shook hands, neither noticed the sensors beginning to flash warnings. At the edge of Council space, 3 star systems had just gone dark. The Devourers had arrived. The emergency alert screamed across every ship in Council space. 3 systems gone. Not destroyed, not conquered, but simply absent from reality itself. Where the Kepler, Sigma Prime, and Nexus colonies had existed, now there was nothing, not even empty space, but a wrongness that hurt to perceive through sensors. "Admiral," James stood on the bridge of Terra's vengeance as the combined fleet assembled. For the first time in galactic history, all races stood together. Draken battleships flew alongside human dreadnoughts, Varian traders retrofitted with weapons, Zoran diplomatic vessels now serving as communication hubs, and the ancient Preserver archives, ships providing tactical data. "Contact in T-minus 30 minutes, Lieutenant Lisa announced. The ... entities are moving toward the Vega system. 4 billion inhabitants. Through the view screen, they could see them now, the Devourers. They weren't ships in any conventional sense. They were tiers in reality, moving voids that twisted space around them. Dark tendrils of non-existence reached out, dissolving everything they touched into nothingness. Commander Vex, now aboard the Terra's Vengeance, as part of the Joint Command, studied the tactical display. "How do we fight something that isn't really there?" "By making it be there," Dr. Anna explained, her fingers flying across her console. "The quantum weapons we demonstrated, they exist in multiple states. We can force the Devourers into a single state of existence, make them solid enough to hit." "Theory," Vex growled. "You're betting 4 billion lives on theory." "No," James replied quietly. "We're betting on humanity's gift for turning theory into reality. All ships implement Protocol 7, quantum field generators to maximum." Across the combined fleet, 10,000 ships began projecting quantum fields. Space itself began to stabilize, forcing reality to assert itself against the void. The effect on the Devourers was immediate. They recoiled, their forms beginning to solidify into something that could be comprehended. They were nightmares made real. Ships of living darkness, each 1 kilometers wide, with appendages that reached out like hungry mouths. But now they were physical. Now they could be fought. "All weapons fire," James commanded, The barrage was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Draken plasma cannons, human quantum torpedoes, Varian pulse weapons, and technologies from a dozen races, all fired in coordinated volleys. The first Devourer ship reeled under the assault, pieces of solid darkness breaking away. But then it adapted. The Devourer's form shifted, absorbing the energy, learning from each impact. Its return fire wasn't plasma or kinetic, it was entropy itself. Beams of pure dissolution that aged sections of ships thousands of years in seconds. The human destroyer Liberty took a direct hit. Half the ship simply ceased, not destroyed, but aged out of existence. Captain Tom managed to evacuate the affected sections just in time, but they'd lost hundreds. They're learning our weapons, Captain Mike reported from the Prometheus. Each one is adapting differently. That's when Elder Malek's voice echoed across the fleet communication. I've found something in the last records. The previous civilization, they didn't win by destroying the Devourers. They won by changing them. Changing them how? James demanded. By giving them what they hunger for, but in a way that satisfies without destroying. The Devourers feed on reality because they exist in a state of constant entropy. But what if we could stabilize them? Dr. Anna's eyes widened with understanding. The quantum fields were not just using them as weapons. We could use them to alter the Devourer's fundamental nature, transform them from entropy beings into stable matter. It was insane. It was impossible. It was exactly the kind of solution humanity was known for. All ships, new orders, James commanded. Concentrate all quantum field generators on a single Devourer. Don't try to destroy it, try to save it. The fleet reformed. 10,000 ships focusing their combined quantum fields on the Lid Devourer. The creature thrashed, its void tendrils lashing out, destroying dozens of ships. But something was happening. Its form was solidifying, changing, becoming something new. Where once was living void, now existed something else, a massive crystalline entity. Beautiful and terrible, but stable, real. The transformation rippled outward, affecting the other Devourers. The lead creature, no longer a Devourer, but something transformed, sent out a signal. Not in any language, but in pure mathematical concepts that every spacefaring race could understand. It was gratitude. For eons, they had existed in agony, constantly dissolving, constantly hungry. Now they were whole. They weren't invaders, whispered Ambassador Crix in amazement. They were victims of their own nature. The battle was over, but the real work had just begun. Asterisk. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Vega, as history would remember it. The council chamber looked different, now expanded to accommodate new members. Where once sat only the established races, now there were humans, and surprisingly, the transformed Devourers, who now called themselves the Restored. Admiral James, promoted to humanity's permanent ambassador, stood before the assembled representatives. Beside him stood Vex, now Marshal of the Combined Defense Fleet, and most remarkably, the entity that had been the first Devourer transformed, now known as Prime. Prime's crystalline form spoke in harmonics that universal translators converted to words. For millions of years, we existed in torment, unable to control our hunger, destroying what we touched. Humanity didn't just save the galaxy from us, they saved us from ourselves. The transformation had revealed the Devourer's true history. They were among the universe's first civilizations, ascending to a higher state of existence that went catastrophically wrong. Their attempt to transcend physical reality had trapped them between states, doomed to entropy until humanity's quantum fields freed them. This is what Earth brings, James addressed the council. Not just strength, but perspective. We're the youngest race here, but sometimes fresh eyes see solutions that experience overlooks. The Varian Trade Master, a flowing entity of pure energy named flux, pulsed with agreement. Human trade networks have revolutionized our economy. They don't just trade goods, they trade ideas, mixing technologies in ways we never imagined. Indeed, the galaxy had transformed dramatically. Human creativity combined with alien technology had produced wonders. Draken's strength enhanced with human adaptability created peacekeeping forces that ended conflicts through presence alone. Zoran empathy merged with human psychology, developed treatments for trauma that worked across species barriers. But perhaps the most remarkable change was in Earth itself. Once isolated in their corner of space, humanity's homeworld had become a hub of galactic activity. The blue planet now hosted embassies from every major race. Its cities expanding upward and outward with architecture that blended human aesthetics with alien functionality. Captain Tom, recovered from his injuries during the battle, now commanded the Unity Station, a massive collaborative space station where all races work together on the next great challenge, understanding the technology the restored had brought with them. Their crystalline forms are basically living quantum computers. Dr. Anna explained to the Scientific Council. They can calculate probability outcomes millions of years into the future. With their help, we're not just preventing disasters, we're guiding the galaxy toward optimal futures. But not everyone was happy with the changes. In the darker corners of Council space, whispers spread about humanity gaining too much influence too quickly. Some feared that Earth's rapid rise would lead to dominance, that human ambition would eventually consume the established order. These concerns reached Elder Malik, who called a private meeting with James in the Ancient Preserver archives. "There are those who fear you," Malik said directly, his crystalline form flickering with concern. "They see humanity's strength and worry about humanity's intentions." James nodded thoughtfully. "We expected this. That's why we're proposing the covenant." He handed Malik a datapad containing humanity's proposal, binding agreement that would limit any single race's military to no more, and 10% above the galactic average. Earth would reduce its fleet, sharing its excess ships and technology with races that needed protection. "You would weaken yourselves?" Malik asked, surprised. "We would equalize ourselves," James corrected. Earth learned from its own history. Empires built on military dominance always fall. Communities built on mutual strength endure. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We want to be part of it. The covenant was presented to the council the next day. The debate was fierce, but when Prime of the Restored spoke in support beings who had seen millions of years of galactic history, the tide turned. One by one, each race signed the agreement. Commander Vex was the last to sign, his clawed hand gripping the stylus. "A year ago, I would have called this weakness. Now, I call it the greatest strength, the power to limit one's own power." As the ceremony concluded, a new alert came through, but not of danger. Deep space sensors had detected signals from beyond the galaxy's edge. Other civilizations, drawn by the quantum signatures of the Devourer transformation, were reaching out. James smiled as he looked around the chamber at the united races. "Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all forms, our work isn't done. The universe just got bigger, and humanity, alongside all of you, is ready to greet it." The council erupted in celebration, not of human dominance, but of galactic unity. Earth had arrived not as conquerors, but as catalysts, transforming not just the balance of power, but the very nature of what the galaxy could become. As stars continued their eternal dance, one truth echoed through space. When human warships descended, the universe had no warning, but it gained exactly what it needed. The end, asterisk.